Let's go back to deworming. A lot of people, if you just have a few goats, they just put the dewormer in this syringe without a needle and squirt it in the front of their mouth. But you'll get a more accurate kill and a more accurate dose if you buy Poison Drench. Something like this with the nozzle where you can put it over the back of their tongue, down their throat, okay? They will actually get more. Those have a tendency, if you put it in the front of their mouth, none of these taste good, okay? And they have a tendency to either spit it out or, you know, get it out and drool it out. This way you're going to get a more accurate dosage. And dewormers are expensive. Everything's expensive nowadays. So you want to be able to make sure that you're not wasting it.
Texmaster. They've just got such a better temperament about them. Okay?
They're very mellow, very laid back. Okay. So we didn't talk about deworming first. We went to the source first. If you can find a class for the fermenter training, your extension service will do it. It's simple.
Yes.
The goat, any goat clubs in your area will probably host one of these every year, but sign up for it and do it. It's simple, simple, simple. Okay, but you'll get this information with it. There's no cost to the course. There is a cost for the card, and this is the card that they will give you. Now, my card is very old, and they say you're supposed to replace them every year or two. Okay. So my colors are fading, but it tells you how to rate their eyelid. We can show you again on a doe how to look. Don't look at goats' gums, okay? When I know a lot of people, like on dogs, they say you can tell if they're anemic or not by looking at the gums. It doesn't work that way with goats. Goats come with different color interiors of their mouths. So you may have one that's got the black gums or gray, kind of a gray, not an unhealthy gray, but or pink, or so don't. But their eyes are the best source. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay our thumb on the top eyelid, okay? And I'm going to pull this lower eyelid down. See that? We want it to be nice and pink like this. Now, you're going to check the other one. Never check just one. Okay? And you're going to go with the lighter eye. That's going to give you a more accurate measurement. So always go for the lighter color. We want it the darker the better. Okay? The barber pole worm is the parasite that kills most goats. And it's because it's a bloodsucker. And so we can check for signs of anemia by checking their inner eyelids. A lot of people, if they're bright red, you don't want to worm them. We don't want to, goats are one of those species that we do not, like with horses, you're supposed to worm them every 3 months and rotate your wormers. You don't do that with goats, okay? We do worm them on an as needed basis, and we don't rotate wormers. So we want to use the same one until it stops working. Now, a lot of herds have gotten to the point where you might have to use two, a combination, what we call a white wormer and a clear wormer. Where'd my deworming gun go?
There's a hole inside of the...
Is there? Okay. This is considered clear, okay? It's not clear, it's purple, okay? But it's when they talk about use a clear wormer or a white wormer, you can see through this, okay? Most of them are clear. This one is got a purple dye in it. This one is clear. When and where you do, how you deworm a goat also makes a difference on them, okay? We really should always fast them before and after deworming. So what I do is, like, I'll feed, today's Friday, I'll deworm them Saturday. I'll feed them Sunday. Okay, they're gonna go a day without food. They're not gonna die. They've got water. They can go back. They go back to the pasture. They're just not going to get any pelleted feed. Okay. Yes, yes, and they can still have their. I mean, I've got big round bales out, so when I go to the pasture, there's hay out there. But what I'm trying to do is slow down their digestive system a little bit. And by not putting that concentrate in there, this will sit in there a little bit longer, give it a more accurate kill. But goats process food in about 6 hours. So what goes in usually is coming out. So we want it to go in, kill, and then come out. And we do it orally rather than injecting. There are injectable dewormers. That one he just showed you is called Sedectin. This is the sheep oil drench. This is Sedectin for cattle. That is a topical drench. They also make Sedectin injectable. So you got 3 different kinds. You never want to use the injectable, okay? You do not want to use the injectable. The only time we use an injectable dewormer is when we have lice problem. If they've got a really heavy blood-sucking lice, there's 2 different kinds of lice, but the blood-sucking is really hard to knock out, and then you can inject ivermectin. But we don't want to use that as our dewormer. It will deworm as well. But what happens when you do give them, inject the dewormer, it goes in at a high dose, but if you read the label, it also lasts for about 30, 40 days in their system. So the parasites build resistance because it keeps going at a lower dose and a lower dose and a lower dose and a lower dose as it works its way out of their body, okay? And the parasites are still, you don't kill every parasite when you deworm a goat. You're just knocking them down. So it causes those parasites to build up a resistance to that dewormer when they get it in low doses like that. And it stays, it lingers. So they build up a tolerance to it. So we want to always orally deworm. Where you place it, Safeguard is worthless.
I know, but it's a white one.
Oh, okay. He said, what home is up? Yes, this is a white dewormer, and it's actually white.
Kind of white.
A little bit, kind of white.
Yeah, I don't care.
This is what, if you have a vet that's not real well versed in goats, he's going to tell you to use this dewormer.
Hey, would you look in there somewhere and find me some paper towels?
Feed store or Tractor Supply or wherever you shop, and you'll ask them for a dewormer. This is the only one that you're going to find that's got goats on the label. All these other ones are off-label use.
I got paper towels coming.
But it's worthless. Okay, the only thing this is good for in goats is for tapeworms. You have to use a real high dose, and you have to do it for 3 to 5 days in a row. Okay, that's all it's good for. So why? Because for many, 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 many years, that was the only dewormer on the market. Okay, and it's been overused and abused, and it didn't work. Okay, now this is last resort. I've never used this because once I use this, my goats don't tolerate that, or they don't tolerate the Sedectin or ivermectin, I've run out. Because once they built up a resistance to this one, then I'm in trouble. But this is it's considered, is it considered white?
Clear, I mean, because it's a clear.
It's clear,
yeah.
Okay.
I this use one, sometime.
Yeah, Dwayne uses this some. I've not been in that position where I've had to. I can still do what I need to do with my Sedectin. But you need to know their weight when you use this one, because they will react to it. They'll foam at the mouth and froth and get sick. Okay? This was originally developed as a form of chemotherapy for humans. Okay? So it works really good on goats, but like I said, you need to know their weight. And so many people do not know what their goats weigh. I used to have a boer buck. People go, oh my God, he weighs 350 pounds or 400. And I'm like, no, He doesn't. But he was built like these guys, wide and thick, you know, and I just laugh at him. And, you know, I have people call me, oh, yeah, I've got this buck. He's almost 500 pounds. And I'm like, no, get you a set of scales, buy a goat tape, you know.
And I'll tell you, when I use this, instructions are for sheep. Anytime you use sheep dosage, 1.5 times for a goat. And what I do with this package, I divide it in thirds. I get 3 packages out of this package. I take a 32-ounce red Powerade, take a big drink out of it, and then I pour a third of that in there, and I've calculated it that it is 1 cc per 10 pounds at that rate. Okay? But be sure that you take the drink out before you put the prohibit in. Okay? But they like that clear like it is. They tell you to mix it in water. Okay? Well, they'll fight you. But when you put that purple, that red Powerade, they like it and they'll drink it.
Yeah. That's like sweet. Okay, you can buy like a goat tape to measure, to weigh your goats. On the meat goats, yep.
What are your thoughts on rotational grazing to rotate paddock to paddock?
That is idea to do.
Okay.
Not everybody can do that.
How often do you do it?
How for what?
Do you rotate your pastures? Probably every 3 weeks, every 21 days.
Larva tends to have a 28-day life cycle.
That was my next question.
Yeah. And if you can give it 30 days rest in between before you move something else in, that's wonderful. Okay? Yeah. The ideal is a cattle-goat operation together.
That's what I'm going to ask you too.
Multi-species.
Do you graze them together or do you rotate them?
Rotate them and leave a spot in between. Okay. Because what parasites bother cattle don't bother goats.
Right.
And vice versa. So one that acts as a vacuum cleaner to the other and breaks the life cycle.
Did you say rotate every 30 days?
28 to 30 days, because that's usually most parasite, that's their life cycle.
Okay.
Okay?
You said 3 weeks.
Yeah, 3 to 4 weeks.
21 days.
Yeah, 21, 28.
And my thing is, and I'm not doing it right now because we're so dry, but I try to keep them grazing if I can, because I graze a lot. I try to keep them grazing 6 inches above the ground, because those little parasites that crawl up, okay, and they usually won't crawl any further than 6 inches, okay, so you cut your parasite load down. But you know what, we didn't get the rain, and I got to do what I got to do. I got to watch my goats a lot more.
Yeah. But you can do, get your goat tape. Idea is to have actual scales. Tractor Supply has got a formulary on their website for how to, and it's more effective than this. This was developed for dairy goats. Dairy goats are tall, really long, got a lot of leg bone. So, but on the formula the Tractor Supply has, you do a heart girth, and you do length, and then you do a math equation, and it's pretty accurate on weight. So good to know your weights.
When I'm at Pat's house, because I come up and help her work goats, and we run them across the scale, and it's the big game with all of us is to guess the weight before we run them across the scale and see who can get closest. Mm-hmm. But we can get within a couple
pretty
pounds.
Good, yeah, getting pretty good.
But you look at enough of them, and you hold enough of them, you can do that.
Yeah.
You know.
Kids, goats kid.
Birth weight.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I had a friend that could Charlie could walk out there and say 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, she'd be right.
Last kidding, we had 2 twins.
Uh-huh.
They were about the same size as the monkey when they came out.
Big.
Big kids.
I've got a little set of luggage scales. It's digital, and I have a little sling. And because I told you I keep my 60, 90, 120 day, but I weigh mine the day after. I don't weigh them the first day. I let them get a belly full of milk, okay? And that's when I weigh them. And I'll put them in that little sling and hold it up, and I'll record their weights, okay? And that's a pretty good indication. Now I have one buck that I got from Pat, Copper. That's what we call him. he is my yearling buck. He has a low birth weight, but the babies grow real fast. So I put him on all my yearling does. Okay, like of these 3 does right here, these 2 right here are bred to a buck called Mastodon. This one, she's a little smaller, so she's bred with the copper. Okay, and so the first year I'm going to put that so I get a lower birth weight. If they're big boned and big framed, then I may move up. Okay, but I like that. Go ahead and let them have that first birth. It's an easy birth, and that's less trauma on them. You don't have them trying to reject the kids, those type of things. Okay, so the buck that I got now that I picked up from Pat, his name is Mastodon, and that's exactly what he is. He is massive. Yes. So I've got some pictures on my phone of some of his babies from last year, and I mean they're just.
This year's baby. Well, no,
this year's babies. This year's.
It's this getting season. Okay. Now I use this because we'll do what.
Oh my God.
60 at a time. I mean, I kept saying there's not many goats in that pasture. Yeah, they're about 35, 40. I think it was like 67. They kept going, when are we going to stop?
Pat, you can't count.
Yeah, obviously. But anyway, so this one I can just go down and do a bunch, and I can pull up my dewormer, set my dosage, and go.
Earlier you said you don't deworm unless you check the eyes and they need it, but now you're saying you did like 67. So what was the reason you did all of them at one time? Were they all?
Can I answer that?
Yep.
When you got 250 head to work in like 3 days,
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
So there are times that you do deworm on a regular basis?
We try to go through and I try to get everybody dewormed every 9 to 12 months, just because I do it when I've got enough help there. I've got one pasture that went like 15 months. I just didn't have help and didn't have time to get them done. They did fine. But I want to go through. If you've got the manpower and you've got a small enough herd, hey, it's idea not to deworm them unless you do the.
Okay, you saw her eyes a while ago. Good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that doe's been wormed once in her life.
How old is she?
She's 18, 19 months old right now. She was wormed after when I wean them. A lot of times I'll worm them like that because that's a stress and that causes a parasite bloom. And we were having a lot of rain at that time, which means we had a lot of parasites. So, I got ahead of the curve on it and I wormed them. That's the last time she's been wormed. That's the last time any of them's been wormed.
So you said stress will bring on worms. Okay, what if you got a predator problem? Is that going to create stress? You're being chased by dogs, coyotes.
Yep.
Need to be watching for worms.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Now, let me tell one other thing.
All right.
I had a young man, Hayden, and I was teaching him working goats, doing things like that, and we were worming, and I don't remember what we were worming with. Might have been sidectin or whatever, and I was trying to teach him to put it back the back of the tongue, and we were using this. I've got another gun that's I can set it, it's got a tube on it. What Pat showed you is the Cadillac. I mean, that's the best one. But we were using this, okay? And most of you, this is what you're going to start off with, okay? And he put his hand under her throat when he gave it to her, okay? He wouldn't, I didn't catch him. And what he did is kind of cut her air off. And when he gave her that wormer, he moved like that. She went, and she sucked it into her lungs. It just happened to be one of my best ones. I called Pat the next day. Pat, what do I do? Well, she said, go get some of the floor. Mm-hmm. I went, by the time I got them to the floor, because she already had what we call the death rattle. Okay? By the time I got back with it, she was dead.
Yeah.
So don't hold them under here. Right across these bones. But that's, I told y'all, I had Atlas. He was pole. I won't have another pole buck. Okay? That's what horns are for. Okay? They're handles. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot of my lessons a hard way.
Well, those are the lessons you never forget. So, all right. Is that everything on deworming?
I think so.